this BA's best economy seat? It's certainly the most comfortable and spacious that I've ever experienced, but does have a couple of potentially awkward features that might put you off. Today I'm on a short hop from Newcastle down to London Heathrow in BA Economy, which usually wouldn't be that interesting a flight, but today's a bit different. For one, I'm travelling in this quite unique exit row seat, but on a personal note, it marks the start of a period of full-time travel for myself and my partner Kelly after taking a sabbatical from work. So today I'll take you through what the BA Economy experience is like in 2025, how we enhance the experience with our BA status and with this seat, and I'll also share a little bit about our upcoming travel plans. Let's get going. We arrived at Newcastle Airport mid-morning with a ton of excitement for this one. I made our way straight over to the check-in desks, which we noticed had moved since the last time I was at the airport. We got here a while before departure because we were keen to get checked in, get to the lounge and just start relaxing and get ready for the trip. Unfortunately, we noticed this sign saying that check-in would only actually open 2 hours before departure, although thankfully someone came out a good half hour before that, and we were able to get our bags dropped off. It had been a bit of a difficult one to pack for this. We're going to be away a few months, we're going to multiple different climates. We do get 2 lots of 32 kilo baggage with BA for each, but that will be a lot to lug around for a few months, so we decided not to take quite that much. BA Gold Status is the reason why we have so much baggage allowance. It's also why we're able to check in pretty quickly, get through fast-track security and make our way over to the lounge. BA used the Aspire Lux lounge, and it's a nice place to sit and spend a few hours. Not the best food and drink available, but I was able to get a pretty decent breakfast. The quality was a little better than some recent visits I've had, so I was actually able to eat most of it for once. Also managed to cram myself a coffee for a much needed bit of caffeine that morning, and accompanied it with a little pan of chocolate to finish off the meal. The Aspire Lux Lounge also has free pour beer, wine and spirits, and I decided to pour myself a little rum and coke to just kick off the holiday feeling. I did at least have the restraint to wait just before boarding so that it was almost midday, and shortly after that our gate was called, so we made our way over. Once again, our BA status comes in handy here, giving us a higher group number for boarding. I know a lot of people don't like to rush onto the plane, but when you're travelling in economy in particular, if you've got decent sized hand luggage, there's always a bit of a fight for the overhead bins, so it's useful to be able to board early, make sure you've got space near your seat. And this is particularly true when sitting in the exit row, as your seat has to go in the overhead storage, it can't go under the seat in front of you. And once again, thanks to our status, we were able to select the exit row seat for free. Although to be honest, even if we didn't have status, we'd probably find it worth paying for this seat selection most of the time anyway. Our flight today is on an Airbus A321neo. We made our way on board and went past the BA Club cabin. The front half of the plane has quite nice quality seats with good headrests, but the further back you just get this really rubbish looking seat that's a bit thin and solid. But arriving at our seats, we found this huge amount of space in front of them, so we chucked our bags up in the overhead and got ourselves seated. As you can see, there's a bit of a gap in the seat layout, so there's no seat in front of me other than a crew seat, which you'll see later, so that meant I was free to stretch out loads. And for reference, I'm 6 foot and my legs weren't coming anywhere close to the seat in front. And because there's no seat in front of me, I do have a small storage pocket to the right hand side. I ended up using this to store a few of Kelly's things in, as her seat pocket was actually broken in front of her seat. First impressions though, the seat cushion wasn't the best. There was a few bits looking rough around the edges, like this was falling off here, which Kelly tried her best to do her unimpressed face about, but ultimately we did have plenty of space and felt comfortable. Worth noting, these seats though are slightly narrower than others, as it does have the tray table in the side. Doesn't really make too much of a difference though, and I quite like these seats. If you're next to someone you don't know, it just feels like more of a barrier between the two of you. And overhead, every seat had individual air vents and reading lights. One of the biggest downsides of this seat, other than the one I'll come on to later, is the lack of a proper window. So I had 2 options. I could either look over my shoulder at the window of the person sat behind me, or I could look out this tiny little window that was part of the door, but that would require leaning forward pretty far. I wouldn't really have been practical or possible during takeoff or landing, which is the main time I'd want to be looking at anyway. At this point, boarding was seeming to be almost complete, and we'd noticed that no one had come down to sit next to us yet. One of the unlisted benefits of BA Gold is that BA will block out the seats next to you in the seat map until that seat is needed. So if the flight isn't full, when other people are selecting seats, that seat next to you won't show as available to them. There's no guarantees of this working, and I don't know for sure if that's what happened here, but it might have helped, and anyway, the end result was we did have the full row to ourselves. I then received a supposed benefit of BA Gold that I've never actually received in the past, and that is a special gold welcome on board. Essentially, the cabin manager came up to me personally to welcome me on board and wish me a good flight and had a bit of a chat. A nice little touch, sure, but none that I would really look out for, and certainly wouldn't feel hard done by if I never got that benefit again. After a push back and the safety demo was done, one of the crew then came to sit in the seat opposite, which definitely cuts down on the legroom quite a bit for takeoff and landing, and if you're a socially awkward person, this might be a seat best to avoid. It's a weird one because on almost any other form of public transport, sitting opposite a stranger would be a perfectly normal thing, but on a plane it just does feel a bit weird. Now, whilst we're taking off on what always seems to me to feel like a bit of a miracle, which is a BA on-time departure, I'm just going to talk briefly about our sabbatical in terms of how and why we're doing that. So we're going away for 3 months and we're cramming quite a lot into that time. I will give a bit of a brief rundown of where we're going a little bit later in the video. But in short, travel's always been a big passion of ours, and we have often talked about taking a bit of a longer trip, and until now we just haven't had a natural time to do it, but there just came a point for both of our careers where this seemed like a good time to go. I do think it's important to try and live for today as much as you can, because tomorrow isn't guaranteed, and we have had a few reminders of that in our lives recently. A lot of people might talk about doing something like this someday, but then that someday never actually comes. I do appreciate though it's not something that everyone can easily do. We've both got jobs and careers that have allowed us to take this break. We don't have kids, and we live in an area of relatively low cost of living, so our fixed bills whilst we're away is still relatively low, and it certainly didn't hurt that we had hundreds of thousands of air miles built up that we were able to redeem for the majority of the flights on this trip. That alone saved us tens of thousands off the cash value of this trip, although we did pay cash for this flight. Once up in the air, the cabin crew got to work and I got my legroom back. This seat easily provides more legroom than it does in business class, including if you're in the front row of business class. Hell, it even has more legroom than you get in premium economy on a long-haul BA flight. Wi-Fi and in-seat power are available, though you wouldn't really need it for a short flight like this. BA do give free messaging, but anything more than this you do need to pay for. And very shortly after takeoff, the onboard service began. Despite only being about a half an hour, 45-minute flight, BA do still provide a small snack and a drink on this. They usually give a choice of 2 snacks, but the last couple of times they've done this route they've only provided 1. And you do also get a bottle of water. Again, it's not much, but it is one of those little differentiators between BA and the low-cost carriers. And if you are after something more substantial, there is an in-flight menu that you can purchase items from. I did get up to make a brief stop to the bathrooms, but nothing much to report there. It's pretty standard, nothing too exciting. And it was at least clean, which is all I can ask for really. Overall, a very pleasant flight. Obviously it's a very short one, but I think given the amount of legroom I had and having the seat next to us available, it's definitely the most space I've ever had on a BA economy flight. I'd definitely book the seat again, and I would recommend to other people, so long as you don't mind sitting opposite the crew for that takeoff and landing. And it's also not the best if you do like your view out the window without wrecking your neck. So finally, a quick word on our travel plans and what videos I'll be bringing to the channel. We're starting things off in a very exciting way, flying BA first class to Bahrain. We'll then be flying with Qatar Airways down to Doha, and from there taking an 18-day cruise going around the Middle East and down the east coast of Africa. After that, we'll be flying out business class over to Asia, travelling around places like South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, along the way checking out business class and first class with Qatar, Korean Air, JAL, Cathay Pacific, and a few others. After that, we'll be heading over to the Caribbean and Central America. We'll be doing a few more flights, as well as another cruise. As always, this channel is going to focus more on the transportation, so we're looking at flights, we're looking at bullet trains, and a couple of cruises. But there might be a few other little bonus videos dotted in here or there. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you are so you don't miss out on any of that. And if you want to see a bit more about what we actually get up to when we're in these places, you can follow along on Instagram. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.